Hello, everybody. Welcome to our live show for our May/June book of the month. Of the 2 months. The 5th season by A.K. Jemisin.
The 2 months, yeah.
I'm so excited to be discussing this book. It's going to be a good time, I think. And before we jump into what everyone thought, just an FYI, this is the non-spoiler section. We will keep things spoiler-free for a portion of the live show, and then we will jump into spoilers, and I'll update the little scrolling ticker thing at the bottom to let you all know. But if you haven't read the book and you want to know what the 5th season is about, it's a really difficult book to explain, so bear with me. There's... it's
accurate.
Off you go. You volunteered yourself. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm correct.
So the main gist is someone based... Okay, start again. How... This is so tricky to explain. It's about the end of the world, the beginning of the end of the world. There is this great rift that is torn across the continent, and it's spewing out gas and ash, and it's slowly killing things, and the Earth is entering a 5th season, which is just like an extended period of time of, hardship, yep. And whilst that happens at the very start, and whilst this is happening, we follow a woman named Essen who comes home one day to find that her son has been murdered and her daughter is missing, and so she's trying to track her down. And it's also set in a world where there are these people called Origines who have the ability to, what's the technical? There's an appendix.
It's, what is the word?
One who possesses, the ability to manipulate thermal, kinetic, and related forms of energy to address seismic events. So they're kind of responsible for stopping things like earthquakes and volcanoes erupting and natural hazards along those lines.
A lot of like kind of climate stuff, I would say.
Absolutely. So they are present in this world, but people don't like them very much at all. There's a lot of heavy discrimination against them, and there's kind of like an organization of Origins to keep them in check type situation. So that's broad strokes what the book is about, and an intro into the world. Hopefully that made sense. There's a lot more.
Yeah, I think you did well. That was good.
That was really decent.
I would have been like, it's apocalyptic.
It's a book about
It's climate change, apocalypse, I don't know, things like that. That's what I would say.
My description is there's Origins who are people who can cause and stop earthquakes, and that's it.
Earthquakes, tectonic shift, I don't know. Yeah.
So, what else was I going to say? Yeah, it's definitely kind of apocalyptic vibes in a world that's very speculative. Like, there are some like fantasy elements, but the way in which it's like the world building is done and everything is described, it feels kind of very sci-fi as well, like scientific, logical. It all feels quite possible. So it was definitely a super interesting, imaginative and creative world in which this is set. And if you can't tell, I really love this book.
The genres.
It
is very much like that, like science fantasy kind of blend together, which is really
mix, which I really like.
I really liked it too. Yeah, I thought it was really good, and she does a fantastic job of executing everything and building the world.
Yeah, agreed. So let's jump into our ratings. What we generally thought. If you can't tell, we've kind of just been raving about it mostly already.
Love it.
Loved it. So good.
So star ratings. Rochelle, do you want to start?
Cool. I read it over like the chunk of a couple of days because I was like, oh shit, we have book club this weekend.
Yeah.
I should probably read the book.
We're like, last minute.
I was just like, do I want this to be my like one book that I don't read for book club. Probably not. That would be a bad
Probably
idea. Not a good time. So I read it really quickly, and I wish I had taken some more time with it. I ended up giving it 4 stars just because like the pace that I read it at meant that I didn't like emotionally like have an opportunity to connect with a lot of the stuff that was going on. I was trying to get through it so that I could come and talk about it, but I did really enjoy it. I thought it was a really interesting take on what could happen to the planet if we continue being dickheads and just like messing stuff up with climate change.
Like, that's the scary thing. It feels like this could be a future that happens.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Jane, what do you think?
Oh my gosh, I loved it. It's my second N.K. Jemisin book. The first one was The City We Became, which we read for book club, I think, last year. But oh my gosh, the way she writes and like translates really complex concepts, but she makes it so readable and digestible. Like, I just binge read it over the course of like 2 days, and oh my gosh, I just loved it. Like, oh my gosh, it's so complex, but I didn't have trouble picking anything up at all. And then, like when we go into the spoiler section, oh my gosh, just
you're ready to go.
Genius.
And like, I just have to say, like at the end of it, I was just wrecked. Like,
it's a good way to describe it. Yeah.
And I think like I went into like a depression sleep, and then
oh my god!
Morning I wake up. I know. In the morning I wake up and I'm just like sitting there staring into space, and then my husband walks by and he's like, oh, "What's wrong? What's happened?" And
he's like, "Is it the baby?" No, it's just I read a book.
Man, it messed me up.
I know. I told him the end, and he's like, "Oh boy."
Yeah.
Like, I would click straight to the end and be like, "No, not for me. Sorry."
No.
Yeah, so I'm like almost finished a second book now because I just.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah. You went straight back in.
Amazing.
Yeah. So it's
I love that for you.
I know. It's rare, right?
So rare. That never happens to you.
Yes. So that is me.
It.
5 stars.
5 stars. Well done.
There you go.
I'll go. I gave it 4.5. I should just bump it up to a 5. I don't know, probably. Might as well just give it the 5.
As well.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is the second time reading it. Like, I don't remember. Did we read it like a buddy read it?
Yeah, we buddy
read it. We buddy read it, and I loved it that time. And then rereading it this time, like, obviously I went in being like, I don't remember anything. I don't know what happened. I remember like specific plot points, but everything else, I was like, I don't remember any of this. And it was really good to kind of go back and just remember just how fantastic of a writer N.K. Jemisin is, and just how brilliantly she's like just created this entire world and like all the characters and stuff. So it was fab. Loved it. Keen to talk about it.
So again, also second time reading this one. When I first finished it the first time, I gave it 4.5 stars, and then a couple of weeks later was like, no, it's a 5-star read. So that has changed. It's still a 5-star for me. I just think N.K. Jemisin is a genius, incredible writer, huge fan, and it's just such a beautiful and sophisticated world, writing style. It just really drew me in, and I really appreciated the opportunity to reread this, because the first time I picked it up, like Jean says, there's a lot of complex ideas, and the world is very, very in-depth and fascinating. But the first time I read it, I was kind of confused for the first 150 pages about what was happening. It was still really readable, but I felt like I just wasn't fitting the pieces together very well. Eventually, everything did click, and I was like on a roll, going with the flow. So it was really nice to reread it again and actually have all of that background knowledge and just be able to enjoy it rather than being like, wait, what is happening? And it's brilliant. I have also read the second book, and I will be rereading the second book shortly, so that's going to be a good time. And I also really appreciated the fact that this is such an interestingly written book. There's some different perspectives in here, and one of them, the one where we follow Essen, it's written in second person, so it's addressed to you, which I can totally see. And I know, chatting to Sydney Book Club yesterday, that some people don't like second person or can't gel with it, which I totally get. I did gel with it. I thought it was a really immersive way of writing it, especially since, you know, a lot of what Essen's been through is very traumatic, so it draws you in. What else was I going to say? I did have something else I was going to say. I'm sure I'll get back to saying it later. I am sure. But yeah, what did you guys think of the second person?
I actually recently read Harrow the Ninth after we read Gideon the Ninth. Yes, most of that is in second person, and I don't know, I like just the way N.K. Jemisin writes it. Like, it's I appreciated the perspective because it just gave you a bit more, I think, than you would have gotten just from Essen's perspective alone. And yeah, and then you kind of put the pieces together. So I didn't really struggle with that as much as I know some other people might have. So I liked it. Yeah.
I think she does it like seamlessly, in that if I wasn't, like, obviously when I first read it, I was like, oh, it's in second person, you. But then after getting over that initial kind of realization, I wasn't really conscious of it. Like, she does it really well that I wasn't aware of it being second person for the most of it. So it wasn't jarring or anything for me.
Yeah. Because like, it really shows what a master of her craft she is, because there are like sections of the book where we follow other perspectives that aren't written in second person, and there's just like the switches between, I didn't notice. It was very seamless, and like to be able to pull that off, just like so good.
I applaud her.
Yes.
I want to be her.
Phenomenal.
I want to know how she does it.
Yeah. When I first started doing creative writing as a teenager, like, I was doing second person, and it's hard. That is some skills right there to pull that off.
Has anyone read the You series?
The one with the one that's the TV show.
Yeah, because that whole series, there's 3 books now, is in second person, but it's a very different take because it's very stalkery.
Meant to give you that feeling of creepiness.
Yeah, whereas the way she does this one, it's kind of like, it's a blend of third person, but then offering it from that narrator's perspective, which is really interesting as well. Yeah.
Like, thinking about it, I have read a few second person books before, but they've mostly been in like like the characters addressing like their abuser, or like it's that sort of dynamic where it's like a letter to someone, whereas in this case it's not a letter to them, but like you said, it's kind of like it almost reads as third person, but there's a little bit of that narrator's influence as well.
Yeah, that's actually I was gonna say, I remember a book that I read a long time ago. I think it was called Stolen or something like that. Or I don't know.
That's one of the ones I was thinking of.
Yeah, and the entire thing is in second person, but it's about like her talking to like her captor, like the one that's essentially kidnapped her. And I'm like, this is a very interesting book. Like, I liked it, but I was just remembering like that entire thing was written in second person, and the format of it was really well done, I thought, back then.
Yeah, I think
I don't know what it would be like now, but
so well. Yeah, I mean, well, I also recently read A Dowry of Blood, which is similar. Like, it's one of Dracula's brides.
I really want to read that.
Like, speaking to Dracula. Oh, it's beautiful, absolutely brilliant. And I think that format works so well with second person. This isn't a book that I would have thought would have worked well or like would have blended well to the second person format, but N.K. Jemisin is just a master of storytelling, and she does it so beautifully.
How many times can we say N.K. Jemisin is a master of storytelling?
Oh, look, we'll be saying it
Make
every
sure every time we say it.
Yeah.
That is the review. That is all
the review.
This is
Non-spoiler section is she's a master of storytelling. We're done. That's it.
Just like, oof. Yeah, if we had to do shots every time we said that, we'd all end up in hospital with alcohol poisoning.
I mean, I'm a lightweight, so I think I'd have to
leave.
And I'm so close to Westmead Hospital, I think they'd be like, okay, we're at the door, let's go, Smale. We're taking you to hospital.
Oh, dear.
I'm so excited for the adaptation of this because it's such like a rich world, and
yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah, there's just so much to it. Like even in the prologue, where you get like little snippets of like what the kind of leadership of Sansa looks like. And I was, one of my annotations was like, oh, these characters are so interesting, I want to know more. But then there's a rift that is like across where the government of this whole continent is, so we don't have the opportunity to learn more about them. But I even like the paragraph that we got of like the Emperor, that was just written so well, and she just manages to say so much in so few words. That I was like, oh, there's corruption, there's interest and intrigue here, I want to know more. And then I just feel like there's so, yeah, I really hope it's a TV show so we can explore so much more of the world.
And it's like every single thing that she writes, or like every kind of plot point that she alludes to is for a reason. And like after finishing the book, I actually went back and read the prologue, and I was like, oh, so that's because it's kind of like, here's a predictor of the end of the world kind of thing. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's all clicking now. It's and all the loose so I'm almost finished with the second book, but all the loose ends that I had, you know, all the questions that I had from the first book, it's answered in the second one, and I'm like, that's why that was done that way. Oh my gosh, so good.
Oh, I agree. I think it's done so well how there's a lot of questions answered in the second book, but then the second book presents more questions, which obviously we'll learn about in the third book. So it's just like, it's a very satisfying second book to read. It's not like you have still so many open questions that it feels like a long time before they're resolved. It's a nice stepping stone.
Yeah, I definitely think that this like would be a great series to like reread periodically.
Oh, absolutely. Most definitely. Before we kind of dive into spoilers as well, I just want to say that for those who haven't read it, this is a very triggering book, I feel like. There's a lot of really heavy content, so just to make you aware, if you feel like there is content that could be potentially triggering for you, I definitely look them up on like booktriggerwarnings.com. Has a page for the 5th season and lists some of the things in there. But obviously in the synopsis, we learned that the main character's son is murdered. Like that's one of the things. There's a lot
of heavy content.
Of trauma. Like a lot of systemic trauma is explored here as well. So it's heavy. It's heavy.
And
really
because,
a heavy part.
And because it's an adult book, I find it doesn't skim past a lot of those scenes. Like it just tells it like it is. So it's quite emotionally traumatic.
It could definitely be very confronting for people that have certain triggers. So definitely would recommend.
And it also, it's both subtly, but in some passages quite obviously also shows that like the way that origins are treated is a metaphor for how like people of color and particularly Black people are treated by individuals and the system and government. So yeah, that can, like, there's some really powerful moments. It's it can be quite confronting. It's a lot. But
it is a lot.
I started reading the 5th season on Juneteenth, and I was like, this is hot.
Yeah.
This. Ooh,
Yeah.
ooh.
I did as well. Yeah.
It was heavy. It was heavy.
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah,
is heavy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like
It's a great series, and I would definitely recommend reading it. But if you have those triggers, I would probably say stay away for the majority.
Agreed. Agreed. Do we have any other kind of spoiler-free thoughts to share before we do dive into details? Any characters that you particularly love?
I really liked the.
I'll be back in 1 second.
Yeah,
Okay.
go for it. I very much liked the very obvious like backstory to a lot of it. Like there's an appendix at the end of the book that talks you through a bunch of the different 5th seasons that has happened, which I would like. I ate that shit up after I finished the book. I was like, yes, more information. But I also like that, like, there is evidence of previous civilizations and that we can still see them, like, active and moving through the world. And, like, it's treated as, like, not something that they directly think about, but is very much in the periphery or the subconscious of their daily lives dealing with these previous civilizations. And I thought that was a really interesting take on apocalyptic, seeing how people adapt based on what has not worked or what has worked previously.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because there's just like bits and pieces where it makes mention of, oh, a civilization in the past before this season had been here, or like they just survived this, or this town has been here for X amount of seasons. Like it's really shaped so much of the world.
Yeah. It felt really rich and like it was like an alive world. It wasn't just like, this has been the way it has always been. We saw that evolution.
Yeah, exactly.
Found really interesting.
Yeah, I agree.
I think given when was 5th season published? So I think it's 2014, 2015. And I love just how, like, the way N.K. Jemisin obviously writes diversity in this fantasy world, and most of the characters are characters of color or who are Black characters. And then also, I think there's a character who's trans as well. And it's just kind of accepted in this fantasy world. And I know, like, even today, there's so many arguments in that, oh, it's fantasy. This is why, there's women are treated this way, or this is why that particular race is treated this way. But she just writes things like so naturally into this world, and it, like, back then it would have been so groundbreaking to have that, and just reading it now, like, it's aged so well, and I know, like, after reading it, I'm like, oh, I know, like, why this is some of people's, like, favorite fantasy series. And I think there's also, like, polyam rep as well, towards the end.
That's what I was going to say before. Yeah, as a polyamorous relationship, it was done really well, I think.
Yeah, and reading it now, it's not like you're. I think, like, even the way the characters reacted to it, it was just like, oh, okay, no, that's a bit different. But it wasn't. Yeah, like, back then it would have been so different and risky to write that kind of thing, like, just naturally, seamlessly into your story.
The inclusivity of, like, diverse genders and gender expressions and sexuality, I felt really lucky that we get to live in a time where we can have this kind of content. Like, can you imagine living in the 40s where this was absolutely, like, would never have been published, would never have gotten off the ground?
No. Yeah.
It would, like, I feel really lucky that we get to live in a a time that allows us to explore those things and normalize them a bit more.
Agreed. Absolutely.
Mm.
Oh, okay. I think we might start diving into spoilery territory. There's a lot more I think we can discuss, but I mean, even from early on in the novel, I feel like there's some stuff that's spoilery. So I think if you haven't read the book yet and you would like to read the 5th season, we will be touching on spoiler details. So your warning now, if you wanted to leave, read the book and come back. But let's get into the nitty gritty, the nitty gritty.
Okay.
So I think one of the big things is the perspectives being different timelines of the one character's life. That
blew
was
my mind. Blew my mind. I got to it. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Oh.
And I think you go.
And then you think back at it and you're like, that's why she had like a tremor in her hand, and you know, that's why she like that's why she
like reading
thinks that way about that sort of character. Oh my god, that's why.
Yeah. Like reading it for the second time, you pick up on things and you're like, oh, you understand, like because you know what's gonna, like, you know, it's all gonna merge together at the end, but you're like, oh, there's all these little things that you pick up on the second time.
Yeah.
And it was just so good.
Agreed. I'm so glad that I annotated when I read it though, the first time, because I was like able to pick up on where I actually have suspicions, because for the most part I wasn't sure. I had like a theory that Demaya and Cyanide were the same person really early on.
I suspected.
And then later on I'm trying to find my annotations. So I picked up on that really early on, and then I had another annotation. I just lost my bookmark. Another annotation that was like, I wonder if Demaya and Cyanide are in different timelines. They haven't talked about the rift at all, and what's happening in Essen. And I had that thought, but didn't connect that the two of them might have been the same character as Essen, even though I pieced that Demaya and Cyanide were the same person. But right before the reveal that Demaya was Cyanide, I was also like, wait, I wonder if they are Ika from the con that Essen goes to, like the head of that con. I was like, oh, is that not Essen? I don't know. It seems like an obvious conclusion to draw based on the fact that, like, it's confirmed before it's confirmed about Essen being that Demaya and Cyanide were the same person. And then I was like, went off on a different tangent completely.
And the way she reveals it wasn't like, here's word for word explaining. It was just so natural, like, and then the reader has to kind of piece together going, oh my God, like, is that actually true? Then I had to flip back at a few pages going, hang on, because I didn't pick up that Essen was the same person as the other two until obviously the reveal.
I mean, it was done so well, because like on one page it's Demaya is like, I've chosen my new name, Cyanide. And I was like, oh. And then shortly after, there's like a reference when she's in the com. Ika's like, oh, so you're fulcrum trained. And I was like, oh, wait, maybe she's like, there's so many like little pieces that are threaded throughout to help you get to that conclusion. But even still, it seems like such a shocking revelation. It's like, oh, it makes so much sense. Mind blowing, indeed. I agree.
For sure.
Correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, that's why I really liked rereading it, because you're like, oh, she's threaded things through so seamlessly and subtly that you didn't pick up on things the first time around, but all the pieces are there.
I think it was interesting because in Demaya's point of view, the origins are so feared.
Such the perspective is so different.
And then obviously you go to Essen's perspective and, you know, the thing that happened to the son, because of the powers. But then you jump over to Essen's perspective, and she's in a com where, you know, they respect origins. And it just didn't gel with me that it was a different time frame, that, you know, things evolved. And then now when I look back at it, I'm like, oh, that's why. Like, that's why they're so feared, because they can tear the world apart and stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, the fear is so palpable. The fact that, like, so much of the town was apparently relieved because they thought that this, like, 3-year-old boy had caused the rift, like, however many kilometers away, and, like, were happy that he'd been murdered. Oh my god, it was.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're all like. Yeah.
Upsetting.
Yeah. I totally lost it when like what I can't talk about what she does at the end of the book to her own son. I was like, oh my god. Like I was a wreck. Yeah.
I was just like, oh, this is not gonna go well for the pregnant lady.
No, it's not.
No, it was not good.
No.
Not good.
No. But then now that I think about it, or like, you know, I've been thinking about it, and you start off thinking that the husband who murders the son, you start off thinking that he's a monster, and you're like, how could he do this? And then towards the end of the book, it's like, oh my gosh, she did the same thing that was done to her. You know, it's like, so who's the monster here, you know? Like,
oh my god.
It's that's a terrifying thing. Is like, obviously his motives are like out of complete fear. And that's just like the scary part of it all.
Yeah. And just like the thing that N.K. Jemisin does like really well is it's just like, I'm not 100% convinced that it was actually the husband and it was done out of fear. Like, she's tricked me enough for me to be like, suspicious. I'll wait till you actually like fully confirm that A, the husband did it, and B, that he did it out of fear, because he took the daughter and left. So who knows if it's like someone was there at the home, busted the younger kiddo doing it. Hurt, like, beat the kid to death, and then dad's just grabbed the daughter and kind of legged it. Like, for all we know, for all we know, like, we're making assumptions about whether he did it or not, and we have no proof.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Read the second book.
I know. I will read the second book. I'm going to, but still.
That's exactly what Jean said. A lot of questions are answered that you need answered from this first one.
My second book's at my parents' place, and I can't go back to my parents' place right now.
Oh no!
But I have to say, like, straight after reading 5th season, you have to like dive straight into the second one, because it doesn't recap anything at all. And even with me, I think I had 2 books in between, and I had to revisit the appendix a few times, and I'm like, who's this? Who's that? So if you get the chance, definitely dive into the next one straight away. Yeah.
Probably in 2 weeks when I'm out of here. I'll do that.
Yes. Do it.
Struggles of lockdown. I think it would be really super interesting to once you've read the series the way it's been intended, to like go back and read the chapters chronologically. Like, I'm sure someone's figured out the exact timeline. I would love to read the story chronologically after having read it as intended. I think that would be a really interesting experiment.
Great idea. Brilliant.
That sounds good.
Okay, we'll have to find this chapter breakdown, because now that's what I want to do now. I'll wait until after I've read the whole series.
What did you guys think about the relationship between Cyanide and Alablasta? I thought that was so interesting.
It was. I just love how such a complicated relationship it is.
Oh, it's so complicated, but it's also just like, I don't know what it was. Like, there was something about the two of them that really, I don't even know how to describe it. It was very complex. And then when they,
like, yeah. Sorry, you go.
No, I was just gonna say, and then when they like entered the polyamorous relationship, I was like, okay, I see.
It was
the dynamics have completely shifted now. Like, it's something's different here.
I was a little surprised by that shift, but like, because obviously when they first meet, they're both very strong, stubborn people, and that causes them to butt heads quite a lot. And I think the fact that they were within the system of the fulcrum, both trying to resist in different ways, caused a lot of tension between the two of them. Like, Cyanite's a lot more, she's not necessarily reckless, but she's a lot more outspoken with her when she takes issue with things, whereas Alabaster has like lived within the system for so much longer and knows how to play the game, kind of thing.
And was born within the system. Like, Cyanite was an outsider that was brought in, so she has like a different perspective. She has outside views that she can refer back to.
And I think he still like sees the potential in her and becomes kind of a mentor in a not very obvious way. And then when they're out of that, when they're on the island, it's a huge shift for the relationship. That it's almost like, oh, what do we do now? But like, even though they kind of butt heads and dislike each other, there's still a lot of respect for each other, which is a good foundation to then become whatever it is that they become in that polyamorous relationship.
Yeah. I thought, like, I started off with Cyanite's perspective thinking she was like some kind of slave or some kind of breeder, because how she's forced to, you know, obviously mate with him. But then over the course of the book, and that's how it's set up as well. But over the course of the book, it's kind of like, oh, she's actually like a really, really powerful origin, and she needs training, and you know, like when that hit me, oh my gosh, I love this character. I need to find out more. But then one thing does come to mind is that they kept on doing it and trying to breed, but then even after they had escaped the fulcrum and they were on the, like, they still kept on doing that, which I didn't really understand, because obviously the fate of their children wouldn't be good, because who's there to monitor them?
I mean, that whole kind of plot point with, like, in order to go up the ranks, you have to produce children.
And like, origin children.
Yep. Uncomfortable. But I just saw this comment, and that is so exciting.
That's amazing.
Oh,
deserved everything.
Well deserved.
I know.
It's a terrific book.
Master storyteller.
Master storyteller, take a shot.
Sophia takes a shot of tea. Delicious.
Shot of coffee. Bouncing later.
Oh god. What did you guys think of the mentor of what's his name again? Schaefer or something?
Yes. Was it Schaefer?
The Guardian. Yeah, Scaffer or something.
Yeah.
I couldn't pronounce names. I was really bad at it.
Yeah, no. It's like
that's an abusive relationship right there. That's toxic.
So
no,
abusive.
thank you.
No, thank you.
In the bin you go.
Like, even from like the very start of the relationship, like that relationship with Shaka and Demaya when they first kind of meet, it's like she's still aware to an extent of the kind of power imbalance and just how terrifying, like, she's terrified of him, but she also grows to kind of love him because he's the only person who's shown her kindness once her orogeny has been manifested. And like, just the way her family, oh my god, her mother is horrible, and the dad just standing there in the background, just like silent, Anyway, it's horrible, horrible. And then Shaffer comes along and is like, with kind words and a smile on his face, and all the while breaks a freaking hand to be like, I can kill you at any moment. Just remember that. Like,
Yeah.
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 And she was just so innocent at that point.
yeah.
And just
Yeah.
like, that was the most horrifying thing to happen to her.
Yeah.
The start of many.
Yeah. Oh my.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the trauma just built from there. Like,
Yeah.
Been through a lot.
Yeah.
But it's
And-
really complicated because there's no clear-cut villains in the story, because even with
Yeah.
Jaffa, he was like her safe space,
Yeah.
who
That's
accepted
the
her
terrifying
for who
thing,
she
isn't it?
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
which is really, even in the Fulcrum as well. Yeah.
Yeah, because I haven't completely finished my reread. I like flick through the last bit to remind myself. But one of the things Demaya says is like, yeah, even in the Fulcrum, one's guardian is like their safe space, and I'm like, it's horrifying.
So messed up. So messed up.
So messed. Correct.
And who were your favorite characters out of the three? Like, well, it's the same character, but like the favorite perspective.
Oh.
Cyanide, I think. I just loved how
Yeah, I love
feisty
Cyanide,
she was. Like, it's so interesting because they do seem like such different people, but it's because of everything they've lived through and the traumas shaping them, and just like the different points in their lives as they're growing and becoming a young woman, then becoming an old woman and learning how to survive almost. Like, it's how she's adapting to the world in order to best survive. But I really like Cyanide's perspective. I feel like there's the most action in her perspectives. And
Yeah, the pacing is really different in her perspective.
Yeah.
Than the others. Yeah.
Also pirates, like, yes.
Right.
Yeah.
It was not expecting pirates. Was not.
Yeah,
No, I
no.
didn't expect that either. I was like, oh, hello.
Happy with it. Was not
I'm
expecting.
fine.
Yep.
I was happy with that.
I'm sure with that.
I'm sure with that. Yeah. I'm sure with that.
Yeah, it's hard because like they're one person, but they are very different. And like I always I think about the fact that Asun had to train herself to be the personality that she is to survive. It's just like you can see the bleed through start happening when she leaves the comm that she's in, of like her reverting back to like her actual like genuine personality. And like that's so messed up to me. Like I would hate to live that kind of life where you have to hide just like your natural inclinations to be feisty, to be sassy, and just have to be this soft, feminine, like teacher of small children when you're like you want to pick fights. Like she
was fire, like
very confrontational, ready to have those like just like upfront hard discussions, and she just had to train herself to move away from that.
That there was that point where she'd left the town and she was grieving the loss of her son, and like there was those moments where she was like she started to feel emotions that were too closely to what like her previous self would feel, and she literally had to stop herself and
she had to cut it off.
She just basically had to like hyper focus and not be anyone else in order to actually survive the trauma. Like it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, and just like her, like the moments where you can see like she's had an emotional blackout, like she's so traumatized she's not registered like that hour where she was feeling emotional, or
she completely dissociates.
Yeah, just completely just like
dissociates. That's the right word.
Yeah.
Oh, and then Clark, like notices, and it's like, oh, you're back.
Yeah. Love.
Oh, I love him.
Love Hoya.
Oh.
Anything happens to that boy.
Anything happens to that boy. I'll riot.
Put it down, walk away, just be like, nope, I don't want to live in this world.
I don't.
Not a world for
I
me.
no longer want to be here.
not good.
It was
Oh,
very
it's so
hard
interesting.
because when Cyanide was on the island, I just felt like, here's your happy ending, just take it. Take it.
Take it. I know, right?
Alabaster. And then when you find out that she's the same person as Essen, it's like, oh no.
No,
And,
you're
Yeah,
like,
she
no.
doesn't stay.
What
No.
happened? No.
like, what happened? What happened?
Yeah,
But it
it's
wasn't.
just
It wasn't
was
that.
up for you go, Jean.
Yeah, it wasn't the happy ending that she wanted. It was the one that Alabaster wanted. Is it Alabaster or Alabaster? Anyway,
Alabaster.
I say
Alabaster.
alabaster, but you know the
Yeah.
American pronunciation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I was going to go into my brain.
You
Going
go.
back to the fact that he makes himself appear as a boy, like a young boy,
Yeah.
and the fact that like that's the appearance that's going to most click with,
Comfort
resonate
her.
with Essen.
Resonate,
yeah,
yeah,
because of
like
what's
that's
lost.
who she- Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of emotional stuff in here. I hope you do have a chance to reread this more slowly, Rochelle, because
Yeah.
it's so worth taking the time with it.
Yes.
This is a great question. Let's chat about this, because I have high hopes, and I feel like there's so much of the world there that it would be a lot of content to work with, but it's kind of like, how is Orogeny going to work? Like how?
I mean,
yeah. I feel
they'd
like
have to have big budget, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have big
Very
budget,
big one.
big budget,
Yeah.
and creative thinking about it. I guess they're going to have to really experiment with how it would look on screen and how it would have translate like that.
I'd hate if they made it look magical, like, you know.
I do not want it to be magical.
Earthbending style.
No, it's not Avatar, guys. It's not Avatar. We already have that.
No, but like not.
Yeah, I kind of picture like X-Men style.
Mm.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah,
X. Yeah.
It's the fact that like because when Cyanide is assessing to see what's underneath the coral, she's like, I put my hand out just so they know that I'm doing something. She doesn't need to. She can literally do something. Like, well, she doesn't even realize that Alabaster is quelling so many of like the small shakes as they're traveling across the country. Like, he does. Like, she's not aware. They don't need to physically do anything to show.
Yeah.
That
they just have to do. Yeah. They just have to have like environmental changes to like, you know, depict exactly what's happening. Like, because like, you know, they can just be walking and then the things just shift or whatever. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be like this big action.
Oh yeah, exactly. I just hope they don't do it over the top.
I don't think they will. I think they'll be really true to it.
Because it would have to be a really gritty setting.
Yeah, very true.
And it doesn't.
I think it would work better in a TV.
Yeah, I agree.
I think it needs the space and the time, because like as a book, there's obviously high action moments and faster pacing moments, but a lot of it is also kind of slower. So I feel like if they made it into a film, it'd be too much to condense.
Would it?
In order to do it justice.
How would they do the characters though? Because she'll be the same person.
I guess they probably have to do things in like kind of like, I think they'd either do things in chronological order, which I would be like, or they'd hire 3 different actresses to like play out the different perspectives, and then it's revealed at the end, like with the book.
It's
revealed at the end that they're all the same person.
Because it's like enough of an age gap that they don't like. Really
they don't have to look that similar.
Yeah.
And I feel like it'd also be a tactic to have it as a surprise, like having 3 different actresses rather than trying to do anything else.
Yeah, I would.
Ooh,
I just hope
Imagine
I
that.
could see it as an
Animated
animated show.
show.
Animated show would be good.
Mm.
I
could
just
see-
hope. I just hope whoever produces it or writes it like has the care for it that it really needs to come alive for
Agreed.
like TV or film. Like it's going to need a lot of careful adaptation, and I just like I hope that the people that work on the project are as passionate about the issues present in the book that they are about bringing it to life on film.
Yeah, agreed.
So I just saw
Absolutely.
that it's becoming a TV series, and that was so that's a recent article.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Much happier with that.
Very interesting. Oh gosh. Oh man, it'll just be too. Yeah, I don't know if I could watch it.
Yeah, that's definitely a big
We'll
one.
just do a
that
live
would
show of us watching it, live reaction.
Yeah, I'd be down with that.
Yep.
Even just reading the start of the book and that scene with the like her discovering her son, I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Just put it. And then I'm like, no, I need to find out more. Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh.
Cool.
I really liked some of the world building that happened, like that city in a geode. Just,
Mm.
I'm just like, I would pay $1 million to have an imagination like that. Like I would not in a million years have thought, let's make a bunch of houses in crystals.
Yep. I agree.
Ridiculous.
Even just the cast names, you know, it shows your what you contribute to society, where you're from.
Yeah.
You know, it's so
Strong back, innovator, leader.
yeah. Oh,
So good.
And I didn't actually realize there was an appendix at the end.
Oh my god.
Go and read it.
Oh,
Go
my
back and
God.
read it. Oh, yeah.
Go back and read it.
Appendix is good.
Until I reached it, and I'm like, that would have helped.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's just
Very.
even the first appendix, like the catalogue of 5th seasons that have been recorded prior to and since the founding of the Sun's Edge, equatorial affiliation, like choking seasons, acid seasons, like it's, oh my god, living in this
Just
world
so
would be
much-
a shit show. It's just like I even annotated some of the freaking appendix because it's just like so much interesting information. But yeah, that appendix is definitely very helpful. Like,
if you were going to live in this world, you would go into it with the mentality of, I should expect a 5th season, and I will be very lucky if I do not have to deal with it.
Basically me. You know what I want to talk about? The last line. Just the last line really threw me. I was like,
That's the last one. Oh,
Someone
dear.
with the book. What is the
oh
last
yeah,
one?
right. Oh,
right. Hello.
right.
Hello.
I was like,
Oh yeah.
oh.
I just sat there and I was like, what?
Yeah.
No.
Because
What is
it's
going
something
on?
that you would not have noticed the lack of throughout the book. Because
Yeah.
it's such a small like descriptor that would have been added to like describe a night's setting as like a piece of fleeting information. So it's not like an integral thing in any world building really if it's not there. So it's just like, wait, what?
Yep.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just like, what a way to end this.
Yeah.
What a way to just be like, oh, by the way, I'm just gonna mic drop this moment and then peace out for 2 years or whatever. Like imagine reading that when it came out and you're like, what? I would be like, now I have to wait to know what happened. Insane.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
I am sorry for your loss.
I'm sorry for you.
I think it was
Sorry for the trauma that you've suffered.
at that point where because I didn't realize that Alabaster was like the,
The guy
he
that
reminds
blew
me, yeah.
everything up. Yeah.
No, he reminds me of who is it? Like the old Luke Skywalker, like an aged version. You know how, like, yeah, really weird, but anyway.
I have it.
No, but he's so powerful, and they're trying to pretty much cage him in the caste system, and then producing, children and stuff like that. But then I didn't realize that he was the only one, like the only 10 ringer that is that powerful. I thought there'll be, there's a bunch of other 10 ringers, and this is just
Yeah. And the fact that he's like able to kind of harness the power of the obelisks, but no one knows that that's a possibility, really. That whole revelation about what the node stations are and how they use origins who they can't control is it's disgusting. Like, horrible. Oh, that whole scene was just
going back and thinking about, like, that's definitely what happened to Crack, like having Cyanide make that connection of this girl that was bullying her, that she thought that she'd won up, and it's just like that, guaranteed that's where she's ended up. Guaranteed.
Yep.
And just like Alabaster having to go into there and be like, this may be one of my children. Like, I have no idea. Like, this poor child that.
But and the fact that it's alluding to the fact that the child looks so much like him, but he just has to separate himself from it.
Yeah.
He can't.
Ugh. And like the cause of that node, like, freaking out. Guys.
No. Oh,
hey, let's talk about how Hoa was this.
Hoa, our saving grace in this book.
Find something wholesome to discuss.
Yeah.
Inan was great. I love this pirate dude. The fact that he's just like so loud and boisterous, like overtly sexual.
Oh my God! Right.
Yeah. It was so fun how Cyanide's like, "Ooh, I want him, but you want him too, and I'm gonna go get him for you," because it just felt, it was at that point where I'm like, oh my gosh, she actually loves him, because
she cares.
She cares. Yeah,
she would have taken it for herself, but it was at that point where she's like, no, like, his needs come before mine,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a weird relationship.
It's just like, that's the kind of friendship I need. I just need a bestie that'll just go and get the man for me. Like, true love right there.
Oh gosh. No, but so Hoa being the narrator of the second perspective, when oh my gosh.
Insane. Just keep
I
blowing
don't
my
think
mind.
I made the connection. Yeah, I don't think I made the connection until it was revealed.
Yeah. And the main
I didn't pick it up
so much sense.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. I'll be interested to see, like, in book 2, them explore obelisks and the fact that there's stone eaters inside them.
You're right.
Way more in depth.
So interesting.
All of you having read the second book and just being like, not saying anything.
I'm over here like,
you're over here like knowing things, and I'm just here like, oh, this will be a cool thing. But I am really interested to learn more about obelisks and the socket that creates them. Like, I want to know that.
The moon. What happened to the moon?
The moon.
What? Why is there no moon? What did you do? How did you
there no moon?
Yeah, so two of us have read, well, I've read books 1 and 2. Jean is in the middle of book 2. And then I think Rochelle and Sophia both have only read book 1 so far.
I only read book 1.
Yeah, only read book 1.
Yeah, we only choose book 1 for the book club.
But yes, we're very, very keen to dive deeper.
Yes.
One character that I did wanted to touch on, Tonki, who is one of the trans characters.
Yeah.
Adore her. I adore her so much. So good. So good. Want more. Please give.
Yes.
Let me protect. And just like the revelations that it is someone from Cyanite's past, like that she meets in Fulcrum, just like randomly. So good. So good.
Exactly.
Following her that entire time. I love it so much. Like, this is my one friend.
It's so interesting how she's kind of like a highborn into leadership, but she's kind of cast out, and I assume it's because of, you know, who she was. And then I think I read it's because they couldn't use her for breeding or whatever. But then she is such a found family feeling.
Yeah,
towards the end, you know, with Essen, Hoa, and Tonki. Yeah, like she's lost so much, but those are her people.
Yeah, exactly.
And like with Tonki has been there basically the entire time, just like has known where Essen is the entire time, and it's just like chilling, waiting for her chance
until she can barrel into her life.
Barrel in and be let's go on an adventure, bitch.
I love the chaotic energy, and just like how much of an inquisitive and curious mind. So much sense being, what is it? What are they called? The GMS? Yeah. I just like her fascination with the geode comm. Like,
what do you mean leave? We just got here. I have so much to do. And just like Lerna, who is the doctor from the original comm, has like come out after Essen as well, and I'm just like, people love you. Accept the love.
Yeah,
I know.
Makes me so happy. But yes, I will be absolutely devastated if any of those 4 characters do not make it the whole way through the series.
Me too, yeah.
I am preparing to be devastated.
Yeah, I'm just prepared to have my feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Prepared for death. I'm prepared for death.
It's like knowing the world that NK Jemisin is. Yeah, knowing the world that's been built, like it's not an easy one to survive.
I'm not making it out of this series happy. I'll say that much.
I was so shocked to see Alabaster again. You know, I thought he was a goner. Oh, and yeah. And then the fact that she sees him 20, 25 years later. Or something like that. And then it's like, oh, yeah. And you don't know whether it's like a happy reunion.
Well, especially with what happened with like the son.
Yeah, it's
and that
just
he understands but can't forgive. Like,
I'm also just like, I'm curious, like, because I haven't read more than book 1. I'm just like, how do you know? How do you know what happened? You weren't there. Like, is that a conversation that you had? Like, or did your Stone-Eater friend just like watch things happen and not intervene? Like, how did you find out? It's just like you got a whole lot of shade that you're throwing based on the fact that you weren't there to do anything.
And the fact that he represents the past her, that she's well and truly gotten over, I think that was the complexity as well. But then I was wondering, I was like, is that the last time in her life when she was truly happy, when she was on the island with them two?
Or because like she would have had moments of happiness with her partner, but she wouldn't have been like open and freely herself.
Yeah.
How happy she would have been, like, yeah.
That's
Like
that gets me. So because she liked him enough to marry him and then have 2 children with him, but she wasn't herself like she was with Enon and Alabasta. So
yeah, it's just like the moments of happiness that I could think of her experiencing would be with her children, who she doesn't have to hide herself from because they have that same ability. And it's just like it's so awful to think about living that way, like having to hide yourself constantly,
and just being in pretty much constant fear because they're children, and like especially the youngest one, like they're not fully aware of the consequences. So like obviously she does. Oh
gosh, what a book.
What a book.
Yeah.
What a book.
I can't want to go lie down after that.
I know, I'm exhausted.
I need to go eat some sugary treats.
Like I need to like pile some chocolate into my face and just be like crying as I start reading the second book, just ready for devastation.
Yeah. So in summary, it's an emotional book, but it's worth it.
Absolutely, 100%.
There's that meme that's like, this book absolutely ripped my heart into shreds, and it goes, here, read it.
every time I read like an emotionally impacting book, I just think of this one scene from The Simpsons where it's just like Marge is coming up to talk to Lisa and it's like, what's wrong? Are your book characters having problems? And she's just sat there holding the book going, I'm just like, me, this is me right now.
Yep.
I am Lisa.
All right. Well, if we didn't have anything else to discuss, I think that concludes our live show. So thank you, everybody, for joining us to discuss the 5th season. Stay tuned. We will be announcing our July Book of the Month on socials shortly, but we hope you all enjoy the rest of your evenings, your days. This is a good question. I mean, I don't think we'll officially have the rest of the books in our book club, but I wouldn't be opposed to like low-key buddy reading it and then doing live shows to discuss the rest.
I think
I'm keen to buddy.
You could do that.
Yeah, I'm keen.
We do a sub-book club read along. Maybe we can do that because I would like to. I mean, it's really great to chat about the book in a lot of detail. So I would not be opposed to doing that for books 2 and 3.
We will discuss and advise.
Yeah.
Yes. Yep. We will place any details on socials.
Yes.
Sounds good.
If you are not already following us on Twitter and Instagram, do so now if you are keen to hear more details. Shameless self-plug.
Yeah. Name of the
book.
I'll update the description to have the links once we've finished this.
Beautiful.
But thank you all so much for joining us and chatting with us. It seems like this book is brilliant. I think we can all unanimously say it's the best book in the universe. No, it's a great book.
It's a really good book.
It's a very good book. All right. So thank you all, everybody, for joining us. We will see you in our next live show, and if not on social media, with more news on the next book we'll read. Thank you.